Hi, so in this project I'm going to showcase how to prepare your project files, how to look at reference images, how to sort assets for free, how to do some basic modeling, texturing, and compositing. Hope you enjoy. Okay, cool, let's begin. So, before we use Blender, I like to get a reference first, and also same for the assets. So let's check this photo. Okay, so let's check the assets we need. We need rocks. I'm gonna show you how to make that like super simplistic with displacements, and we gotta get planks. I think these windows can be a solid material. Same for these window frames. The door has no texture, but I think we should add texture to it. And also like this ugly rusted metal. So the main thing is just the planks. Maybe this metal wood texture. I can't remember what that was. So planks and two metals and some props to fill in the space. And the rest will be somewhat procedural. So let's split this and let me show you my favorite websites. So, Ambient CG, you get pretty good textures here. It looks a little bit better than Polyhaven. So you have to jump between these two. Oh, they're completely free, so you don't have to pay anything. It's pretty cool how they make things accessible. So I did search, I did search Ambient CG for planks, but one thing, these planks don't have cuts or seams in between. So we might have to try our luck on Polyhaven. So let's go to the Materials tab and type in wood. Oh, okay, this is a good start. I don't like the nails here. This one, yeah, this one looks a little bit worn out. It's this one. It still has the nails in between. So the color doesn't really have to be accurate. We can always change that in the shader settings. So, oh, you can middle mouse click in any browser and that opens it in a new tab. Okay, so this one is closer to it if we do some color correction. This one is a little bit worn out. So I don't know if I want to change the composition or look of it. Yeah, we're following reference, so we gotta do this. Revered. I like the streaks in between. So it's this one. This is really difficult. I think I'm gonna go for this one. One thing you should look out for is how much space does the texture cover. So I think it should show you the meters, but you can see it's not. It doesn't have a lot of texture space, so that means the texture is going to repeat a few times. But that's fine. Also, let's download this. So, 2K is fine for most projects, even in 4K. 4K is okay as long as you stick to JPEGs. Anything above 4K is just a waste of space, unless you're going to go for micro details, unless the camera is like on or close to the surface. So let's go 2K. Let's press this button. Ambient occlusion, we don't need that. Diffuse. Okay, let's just download this package. Okay, so we have our wood. Now we need rustic metal, like rusted metal. So let's go here. Type in metal. Oh, this is nice. This is pretty cool. I think this one has a little bit more texture because we have like a ocean shader here, so it might be a little bit rusted, which is a bad design for a cabin here. Again, so yeah, let's go for this one. 2K is fine. Should we go 1K? Let's go to 2K. Okay, so in our project folder, we're gonna make a new folder called assets. Okay, new folder, matte for materials. I'm not gonna, too lazy to type the full thing out. And we just click and drag. Everybody says WinZip this and whatever, but WinZip you have to open the application and has to load. My favorite is 7-zip. You just right click on it, go to 7-zip, and extract to. There we go. It's done. Okay, let's check this out. So textures, they do supply you with a Blender file, but I still prefer to manually make it. Okay, let's check this. Yeah, it's not a lot of texture space, but we'll make this work. Okay, let's get started. So finally, in Blender, I like to make a reference. So just open up a new window, go to UV editor. Wait, let's do it a little bit better. Image editor. Okay, open this. And we're just simply gonna click and drag the image here, and it will open the file location. So, where's our reference? Oh, there's our reference. I can barely talk today. Okay, so we're only gonna start with one, and then we duplicate it. So, let's get to this. So, let's delete everything in the scene, and let's go to Edit, Preferences. It would either be in Extensions or Add-ons. So you just want to type in Rigify. Yeah, Rigify, enable that. And with this, you can Shift-A, Armature, and add a human. So this gives you human scale. In fact, we should just scale it a little bit down. So it's almost 2 meters. So let's scale this down to 1.7. I think that's the average human size. Yeah, Control A, apply scale. Whenever you're in doubt, Control A, apply scale. That's it. Okay, so now we have a human size. So let's check. Okay, it's pretty tall, these buildings. Okay, because that's a chair size. A chair is usually knee height, where you sit on. So let's add a cube. Yep, we have a cube. We're gonna go in edit mode, GZ1. You can see when you press grab and then you type in the axis and then the number, it will move it to that number. Okay, and grab it to the Y so we can see it. In fact, let's grab our skeleton, move it there. Yeah, so I press numpad 1, that takes you in like to an orthographic perspective. So let's scale this up. I think these cabins are actually squared from top, so that's fine. Let's scale this way more up. Let's just get this guy out of here. Yeah, I think that's fine. A little bit smaller. And then let's take it up, so it's a little bit more rectangular. Okay, we have our cabin. Okay, I'm just gonna shift it a little bit up like that, or scale it up. Now let's start with the windows. So we can do a Boolean. Yeah, it's a Boolean. Or we can model that. So I can't remember much when I made this photo, but I think I did model it. I didn't trust Boolean back then. So let's start with this. So usually a window is like from the upper leg. So let's add a loop cut with Control R. Let's add this one. It's a little bit close to the edge, so like this. And you can hold down Alt and select close to a vertex, and it will select a loop. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, and let's go to knee height with this loop. And the top of the window is pretty high. Just checking if it's still recording. And okay, cool. Let's go into face selection, select our window, and extrude it a little bit in. Yeah, then. Oh wait, we have a better way. So let's not extrude it in. Let's go to the modifier panel, delete the face, and we're gonna add a solidify. Solidify. Let's see what that does. Yeah, so we just wanted a proper thickness. So let's make it like that. Just want to see if the window is actually flat. Sometimes Solidify will do some wonky things in corners, but that seems fine. Cool, there we have our cabin. So let's add a window. So we want to go to Edit, Preferences. Let's go to Extensions, Arc. Yeah, just search for Archimesh. And let's add a window. So we're gonna go into Edit mode. We're gonna select Edge. Cool, Edge selected. Shift S and Cursor to selected. That will just take your 3D cursor and that will make things easier to spawn. So now we're gonna press Shift A. We're gonna go to Mesh, Archimesh, and then we have Panel Window. Okay. Now this add-on is a little bit frustrating. Let's go to View, Order, Create. Yeah, so let's go to the N panel. The N panel is when you press N. I think there is a name for it, but I just press N. And now this is the fiddly part. So we have one line in the middle. So let's try this. Vertical count. Wait, horizontal count. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we just gotta match this up here. So, risers. Match that up. I can't help you with these buttons. It's something you have to figure out on your own. Do we like this design? It seems impractical, so... Out of frame, insert frame. Oh, let's make it 60, so that makes it even. And then we just make... What? Okay, so... there's no universal button for this. We're just gonna have to do this by eye, which is fine. So type in 30 and 30. For 40 by 40. I should make this add-on a little bit better, but what we can do, which is cheaty, scale this on the x-axis till we fill that. Let's make this a little bit better to see what we're doing in solid view. So press this down button here, go to cavity, and change type from screen to both. And then we can up some values. And you can see it just highlights edges a little bit better so we can see when we're modeling. This should be on by default. Yeah, this window looks a little bit wonky, but so what? Okay, now let's add the roof. So it's just like a metal slab. So we're gonna hold down Shift and select these top faces, Shift D, and we're just gonna scale it a little bit. There you go. Move it up so it just touches. And I think this should be an extra separate object. So we're just gonna press P. Just remember it has a solidify modifier, so you don't have to select things under it. So just make sure you have the full object selected and press Shift L. Oh wait, it's just L. Okay, and we're gonna press P to separate. Okay, so we have the ceiling, but when I made this back in high school, I didn't think about like smoothing corners. And I guarantee you, if something is perfectly 90 degrees, you're gonna cut yourself badly. So, back to our modifiers, we're gonna add a bevel? Yeah, bevel. Cool, we have a bevel modifier. Now we just gotta play around with the amount. Cool. So play it like this, just a little bit. And let's add a few segments, so that's fine. And I think we should do the same for this one. But let's do that. Yeah, let's do that at the end, because it's just going to be easier to texture this before we do some fancy things here. Okay, so I think our cabin is done. Let's select everything. To get this window selected, you just select the empty. Let's press the roof. And then lastly, the cabin itself. Just make sure it's the bright orange one. We're going to press Control P to parent and parent it to the object. Yeah, there we go. Cool. It doesn't matter now how high this is. We're just going to adjust it by eye later. Let's just shift this guy out here. And we just got to start blocking it. The cabins on the side should be easy. It's just duplicating. So let's just get the ocean thing out of the way. So cursor to origin, and we're gonna press, yeah, we're just gonna add a plane, and for the plane, we're gonna add a ocean modifier. Cool. You can set to generate or displace. Displace will use the geometry, but it's gonna look wonky. So, yeah, I think this should be fine. Let's take this down. And look, it still looks ugly. We're going to adjust it. But I think the important thing now is to place the camera. So press 1 on your numpad. When a camera spawns, it will use the view or angle you're currently seeing. So I just like to zero it out to 1. And then Shift A, add a camera. There you see, you have a view. So let's just move this on the Y-axis. Like this, and let's change the focal length to 30. Let's take this in. Let's move this a little bit down. Move this one a little bit down. Let's see. Okay, so this is mostly in the middle. So let's rotate our camera up a little bit. I didn't think I've done that for this render, but it should be fine. Okay, now let's mess around with the ocean modifier. So, repeat. Oh, we don't have to because it's actually, it just covers both sides. So, let's move this a little bit to the left. Okay. Now, spatial size. We take that down. Okay. Let's add some resolution to this. So I think 8 should be fine. Okay, let's go to waves. Change the wave scale to super subtle. Smallest wave. It's gonna be 0 choppiness. Yeah, so it's just messing around. So wind velocity. If you take that super low, you actually get like a lot more waves. Okay. A little bit down. Okay, this does nothing. Let's apply scale, see what happens. Let's add more resolution. Don't overdo the resolution. In fact, we can just make it 26 at the end. Okay, wind velocity. Choppiness. Yeah, okay. That looks more like an ocean. Do we see repetition? Because sometimes the ocean modifier, no, it will repeat itself. But I think that's fine. Now, our poly count would be dense, super dense, but I'll show you how to fix that later. So just move that. In fact, we have to repeat it a little bit. Yeah, so that we don't see the edges in the background. Okay, now, we're still just busy blocking out the scene. So back here, we have, I think it's mountains. I don't know what I did here, but let's do it. So let's add a plane. So take your cursor to the center, and let's add a plane. Change it way up. In fact, I'm gonna scale it here on the x-axis. We're gonna take it like this, apply scale, and go into edit mode. We want things to be square before we subdivide it. So just add a loop cut in the middle, and it's mostly square. Now, when your selection is weird to a circle, just press W. It took me a while to figure out. I like this box one. Okay, now let's subdivide it. Subdivide, subdivide. Yeah, you can right click and subdivide, but is it right click? Anyway, I just press F3 and I search subdivide, 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 subdivide. Oh, let's not do that. Let me show you the way I usually fake tessellation. So we subdivide it a little bit like this, and then we select what's gonna be in camera view. Then we subdivide that, we subdivide this, so on and so on, and you just build your selection as you subdivide. Okay, press Ctrl T, and let's add a subsurface add subdivision surface. Okay, change optimal display, turn that off, and let's see the poly count. You can go one up, one up. So you can see the detail is actually much closer to the camera, so we don't have to care about poly count and stuff. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's just in the middle, so that's good. Okay, now apply scale, and I think we should add like a displacement texture here, instead of like just pulling it up in edit mode. So let's go to our browser, and I think Polyhaven has good ones. So let's go to terrain and rock. So just clear the search. Okay, we gotta see for some mountainy stuff. So rock face, yeah, that's fine. This one looks like a bad scan, so I'm gonna skip that one. So I'm thinking like something about a cliff face, because that's gonna give us like a terrain effect, and when we add the shaders, it's gonna be pretty neat. So I think this one might do it. Let's open that in a new tab so we can compare it. Okay, so for some reason, my Google Chrome doesn't allow recording anymore, so yay, we're using Microsoft Edge. So let's just go back to the rocks, and let's download this in 2K. By the way, there is nothing wrong with Edge. It is actually fostered. I don't know how, but it is. So let's just download rocks. 2K is fine, it's gonna give us displacement. Cool, right click, 7-zip is the best. And rocks. Cool, there we have a lovely displacement which can actually work as a terrain. So let's just put this in here, and back to Blender. In fact, let's scooch it up here. Okay, so is this thing UV unwrapped? No, I don't think so. In fact, you'll see we have these smooth corners. So let's just change the subdivision from Catmull to simple. It's still gonna have the things in between. It's just gonna be, you know, simplistic. Okay, now let's add a displacement. Oh, we get a UV unwrap. So edit, press U, unwrap angle based. Now, we don't have to see the UV, it's fine for now. Okay, now, under displace, we're going to click new coordinates, change that to UV, and let's press this button. That will switch you to the texture tab, and we're going to click open, and we're just going to click and drag this into here, and yep, displacement. Okay. Ooh, seems already like a lovely terrain. Let's take this up. Oh yeah, if we look at it from this angle. So let's do some UVs. We don't need our timeline. Okay, in edit mode, let's scale this bad boy up. Rotate by 90. Let's see this. Rotate it by 90 again. Okay, yeah. I think that works. So right now we just see this ugly edge, and from our camera view it just looks flat. So what we're gonna do is pretty cheaty. We're just gonna rotate it on the x-axis. Now, in fact, let's scale it up. Can we scale this one up? Apply scale. Now it looks a little bit better. In fact, yeah. Let's just add more subdivision. Go into wireframe. In fact, I'm gonna show you something nice. So, add a lot of subdivision, whatever your PC can handle. Oh! We did not save. So, press Ctrl S. And just save it in your project folder. Oh my god, I need to clean up or organize my stuff. So we're gonna go to cabins. That's my project folder. I'm just gonna save it in here. So cabin _1 save. Okay, so you'll see we have way too many polygons here. So in fact, you can see actually the resolution. So we wanna dip down a little bit. And press Ctrl A to apply visual geometry to mesh. So that just applies all your modifiers. So we're gonna add a modifier and decimate, make it 0.5. So a lot of people just take the decimate modifier to like the lowest setting, and it does the job, but it does the job badly. And this takes some time. Cool, now we're gonna apply this. My method, or actually, I think someone made an article about this. You take your decimates step by step. And that gives a better result. Like, it just gives more data for the decimate to work with. So, 0.5. Cool. And you can see the geometry doesn't change much, which is nice. Let's go into wireframe. Yeah, you can see it. Again, I'm just gonna duplicate this. It's like a lot of people are like, no, triangles are bad and whatever. Yeah, triangles are bad if you're working with deforming objects, but for assets that you're not gonna change up a lot, it's fine. Let's apply Control A, apply visual geometry to mesh. Okay, let's see the polygon density. Let's just make it shade smooth. So again, I'm just using the search bar. For me, it's faster than right-clicking and searching for all of the options. Okay, does the ocean stops here, but you're not gonna see that. Okay, let's get into texturing before we make the platforms. So, let's start with the roof. So, Control, apply. No, I think we can keep modifiers, that's fine. So let's just make a new material. We can go into shading, but it's a metal thing, so we can just make a new material and make it a little bit dark. Make it all metallic. And roughness a little bit like that. I think we should add a little bit grime. We can do that later, after we see how things look. Now, let's check the modifiers here. It only has a solidify. So let's Control A, apply visual geometry to mesh. And let's make the... Let's just check. Yeah, it's gonna select the inside, which was a dumb move at the start. But yeah, let's just select the outer shell. So we're gonna... select one, and you can hold down Control and it will find the shortest path to your selection. So now it's just a little puzzle game we get to play. And select that. For the lawsuit, I just held on Shift. Oh, let's isolate this, because things are in our way. So you can press the slash button on your numpad, and that organizes or isolates it. Okay, so we have our outer shell selected. Now we're gonna just press P to separate. So we have our inner shell and we have our outer shell. Let's de-isolate, unisolate, just press the slash on your numpad and you should be good. Okay, now we're actually going to use the shading panel. We can just get rid of this. Okay, did we apply scale? Alt scale? Alt scale? No, it's fine. What's this? Oh yeah, we didn't apply scale to this. So let's just select both the inner shell and outer shell. So you can just hold down and make a little box select. Okay, apply scale. We should actually do this for the roof as well. Apply scale. We apply visual geometry to mesh. Apply scale. No, it didn't shrink or jump. Okay, now let's start UV unwrapping the outer shell. A lot of people are not like, no, I hate UV unwrapping. It's really easy. And if you get into it, it's really therapeutic, so I kind of like it. So we're gonna start with the sharp corners. So we can select that, hold down Control. Select this one, hold down Control, and that just does the thing. In fact, we didn't have to UV unwrap at all. There is a super shady way of doing it. So let's it's already isolated. So let's press 1 on the numpad, and then we press 4 a few times. And let's get the corner right in the middle. And let's change this to UV editor. Okay, let's press A to select all, and U to project from view. Now, I'll show you now why we can do that to cubes and some objects you can model in the future. Let's get our wood texture. So we're gonna click and drag that here, plug that into the base color. In fact, no roughness. Don't worry about the top parts, that's an easy fix. Okay, so you can see it's already unwrapped. Not good, because we gotta stretch it out a little bit on the x-axis. Then we scale this up. Yeah, that looks good. We just gotta get the things here. For the corners, you kind of want it in a groove for the planks. So let's move that to the x-axis. Okay. And this one. I think it's fine. Now let's just unwrap the top parts. We're not really gonna see them, but it's gonna bug me. So yeah, you unwrap angle based, and it's just a nice cube. Let's do this one here. You unwrap cube. We don't have to spend a lot of time with that. Okay, now let's unisolate this. There we have it. But going from our reference, it's more like a black gray color. So back to shading, and let's just open our reference here. Image editor, do reference. Okay, let's get this color adjusted. So we can start with hey. Yeah, you can press the pin button to keep the image here. Okay, so let's start with the diffuse. And we're gonna add a hue and saturation. Hue and saturation value. Saturated like this, and it already looks better. And let's add a color ramp to give it some contrast, and I don't know, we just gotta experiment. Oh wait, curve. RGB curve. Cool, plug that in after hue and saturation. And we can pull this one down. We can pull this top one a little bit to the left. And there we go. We have some texture. Let's check for red channel. That should push up some brownness. No, I don't like that. So Control Z. You can also press this X button to delete the dot. Oh my god, we're actually making good progress. Okay, so we have the basic cabin done. We don't have to texture the inside, like, it's gonna be useless. Okay, let's select the floor, and we want to make it, you know what, it's just gonna be a dark metallic. We don't have to worry about foam, it's just basic. So make a new material for that, call it the ocean. In fact, name all of your stuff. So we're gonna call this wood. This one, just basic metal. Rough metal. Just checking if it's still recording. Okay, now let's focus on the ocean. So let's darken this a little bit. Metallic, roughness, like that. And ray tracing, let's see how it reflects. In fact, let's change our temporary HDRI just by this drop down menu and go to this one. Ooh, yeah, looks already good. The waves are still too big, so it's all about refinement and adjustment. But let's just make it a little bit rough so we can see. Okay. Just change for viewport resolution. Wind velocity, alignment. Okay. Size. Yeah, there we go. Does it actually change the object size? Yeah, that's not worth it, but let's see. So stretch it out on the y-axis. Okay. Choppiness, we can change that. And let's just scale it on the z-axis, so it's not that rough. Yeah, I think it works. We can just make the base color a little bit darker. It's almost like an oil spill, technically. Roughness down, way down. And there we have our ocean. Control S, let's save. We made good progress. Now, let's select the background. So this one is gonna be a little bit of a challenge, in my opinion. So we're gonna make a new material for this, call it landscape, because we want to add snow on top of a rock texture. Let's make this easier. So we're gonna go to Edit, Preferences, and search for Node Wrangler. Node. Wait. Wait, would it be in add-ons? Yeah, add-on, Node Wrangler. Enable that. I don't know if you all have seen it, but you just press your N, you go to your N panel in your shader editor. Node Wrangler, select your principled setup, and we click Add Principles Setup. And now we just gotta go to your materials, and we're gonna go to rocks, and we're gonna select roughness, normal map GL. Blender uses normal map GL, not DirectX. And then the albedo or cutter. There we go. Okay, in our reference, it is more like a dark tone. So we are just gonna color correct it just like the wood we did. So we're gonna add a hue saturation. Then we take saturation way down, and then a curve. RGB curves. Let's just brighten that and give it some highlights by the top one. Okay, I think that works. Now, let's add the snow on top. So to do snow, we're gonna add let's add a diffuse. It doesn't have to be accurate. Plug in for normal map. Oh, that's a difference. Diffuse. Again, you can press Shift A and go to search. So we're just gonna plug the normal map in here. And we're gonna add a mix shader. So we're mixing the diffuse as the bottom layer. So if you can see, we still have the normal map. It looks a little bit like snow, so that's fine. And we gotta add a normal and a geometry. So plug normal into geometry. Don't ask me how this works, but it just works. we're gonna plug in dot, and you can see it shows us the angle, what's on top and stuff like that. So we can use this as a mask to define the snow. You just click and rotate this thing. Right click to cancel. Now, taking the dot as your factor, plug that in here. There we have some snow. Let's just do this a little bit. Fact. Let's we're just gonna test. Mess around. That's fine. Yeah, just a little bit like that. So we're gonna press Shift A, and we're just gonna ramp it up to make it a little bit more contrasty, because it just falls off smoothly. So take your white, the black, crunch that in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Snow done. And I think this is fine. So let's duplicate this one. So you can select the object per object or whatever, but what we can do is select everything once, and we're gonna move it to a collection. New collection, call it cabin. Yep. So we have our cabin, and let's call this make a new collection by pressing Shift A. Oh, right click, new collection. So let's call this duplicates cabins. We're not done with this cabin yet, but if we have instances of this cabin, we only have to adjust the main one, and that should be it. Okay, now take your cursor to the center, and we're gonna press Control A, and collection instance. We're gonna select cabin, press T to enable your gizmos. Let's go back to layout. Let's just change the HDRI to something cloudy and enable our layouts. So we can see these two are facing the same line, and this one is a little bit skewed. So let's do that. Oh, I think I did use a wide angle. So let's go to the camera and change it to 20. Okay, select our instance, duplicate this one. We can rotate this one a little bit. Just space them out evenly, a little bit. You can do this by eye, as long as it looks good. Okay, let's add this one a little bit like this. Yeah, so we have some nice composition. This one is straight smack in the middle. And let's make the platforms. So let's call this platform. We want to do a few things, like adding, you know, dirty patches and grime and whatever. We'll have to hunt for a JPEG for this. I think I will supply one in the comments or description. So I'll have a bunch of links to all the assets I used. I think I'm gonna make the grime off screen because that's gonna take a lot of time. You can purchase them from websites, but that means you're gonna have to use money. I'm gonna use a free stock image, public domain, and just do some Photoshop stuff, and yeah, I'll supply it to you. Okay, platform. I kind of did do a silly thing and not add a railing in front, so if you're gonna drink some booze and you know, you're gonna fall down into a cold ocean. Okay, should we take this up? I think it's fine. No, if global warming is gonna strike, the ocean's gonna rise, so we're just gonna back this up a little bit. Oh, in fact, we only have to select this one, so. Sorry, just gotta select the main one. Yep. So if we move this one up, the rest move, which is nice. You see, we only have to edit one now. Okay, platform. So, cursor to world origin, and we're gonna add a mesh plane. Take this up, scale this up. It's a little bit like this. Scale Y, scale it on the X. let's go to our top-down view with numpad 7. And we're not going to see the insides. If it penetrates the building, we're not going to see it. Okay. Rotate this so it just makes sense. Alt-R to cancel the rotation, because this one is just in the same line of rotation. So rotate this one. In fact, we can scale it on the x-axis. So if you press X and your axes twice, like S, and press X twice, you'll see it will rotate it locally. Okay, there we have our platforms. Let's join them all together by holding Shift and selecting them. Press Ctrl J. Okay, we have that. Now let's see how thick it is. So we have like a beam thing underneath, and then we just have a wood floor, which I'm pretty sure we can just reuse the wood shader, just a little bit modified, so it's more brown. Okay, now in edit mode, let's extrude these guys up. Let's see the thickness of this. Yeah, seems fine. In fact, let's move everything a little bit down, just like that. And we're just gonna select the top faces. So select these, and we're just gonna press Shift D, duplicate. And we're gonna press, we're gonna make our pivots individual. So that means you can scale them individually. And we're just gonna scale them up a little bit. So that's our wood floor, and extrude it up. Yeah, so we have a little wooden floor. One thing, what I mentioned with the roof is we need to bevel it a little bit. So just select a piece of the metal bit underneath and press Control L. Or is it just L? I don't know. Control L and press Control B a little bit and pull your mouse out. You'll see it start to bevel. And we're just gonna scroll wheel up so it's just a little bit smooth like that. I don't think we have to do it for the floor, or the wood top floor, because it's planks and they're not really beveled. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Okay, let's start texturing. Again, save, we made some progress. Just like that. Select the panels. Now let's go to shading. So we can start by just assigning wood in our material node. So wood, it already works. We're just gonna duplicate it by pressing this 2 button. You'll get a different number if you messed up, but that's just duplicate. Let's call this wood underscore floor. And let's take the color correction out. Plug that in. It's a little bit too red, so plug in your, let's add a new hue saturation. So search hue saturation value. Let's change the hue. Oh, let's just take saturation down. Yeah, this is nice. So in edit mode, we're just gonna press A to select everything. We're just gonna rotate it. So 90 degrees. Let's scale this up. Yeah, I think it works. We just gotta select the sides of it. So go into solid view and just hold down Alt to again select loops. It is a little bit fiddly, so you have to hold down your cursor close to the side of the loop you want. So Shift Alt, select that. Okay, and let's press unwrap. We can just do Smart UV project. Should give us this. Scale it up. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. And let's do the metal bits. So again, in edit mode, select parts of the metal pieces underneath and press Control L. Wait, is it L? No, it's Control L. Okay, Control L, select the bottom pieces, and we're gonna go to the material panel, and we're gonna click the little plus icon and click new, call it metal. And instead of like dragging and dropping in the textures one by one, select your principled and press N, and principled setup, we're gonna go up. And in our materials, we're gonna search for rusty metal, the one we downloaded. So we have to diffuse, normal map GL, and roughness, and that's all we need. Oh yeah, and the metallic texture. Yep. And so it's still wood. We gotta have these selected and press the assign button. Okay, it looks weird, but let's just quickly unwrap it. We don't have to do UVs for this. We're just gonna do smart UV project. You can see it's a little bit stretched. So when it's stretched, again, when in doubt, Control A, apply scale. Okay, now we're gonna do smart UV project again. That's gonna give us a nice one, nice and even. So let's just near a UV editor. Let's scale this up. Yeah, now we have like nice rusty metal parts. It's not a good idea to like build your house on the ocean and use iron or something that's gonna rust. Now let's add some railings. So let's make a new collection. Let's try and pretend we're organized here. I'm just gonna call it a railing. And I think with the Archimesh, we have shelves, cabinets, stairs, column, decoration props. Column stairs? Did they remove it? Otherwise, we're gonna model it. I'm just gonna search preferences. There must be another one. Or... no. That's weird. Add-ons? Yeah, okay, so I think that add-on is lost to time. There was another architectural bits and piece. So, cursor to center. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Let's add a cube. No, let's add a plane. It's going to be easier. So again, just isolate. In fact, let's go to layout and then isolate it here. Now, in edit mode, we're going to press, let's go to vertices. We're going to press M at center. Now, we only have one vertex. Keep it selected, and we're going to press numpad 1. And let's just add a human so we can see what we're doing. Armature, human. Let's scale this one down just by just a little bit. And go into edit mode with your plane. Let's call it railing. And we're just going to make sure it's vertex select mode. We're gonna extrude it on the z-axis. Let's make it a waist height, so just to be safe. And we're gonna extrude it on the x-axis. And we're gonna extrude it on the z-axis. And let's use the snapping. So it's this little magnet, and we're gonna change it to vertex. So you can see it's just gonna snap it to whatever vertex you're hovering about. So now just Z, pull it down, and we're gonna select that vertex, and you can see it's nice and even. Nice and even, Steven. Okay, let's go into vertex mode and turn off snapping. So we have these two selected. Now let's press Control B. That's not gonna do anything until you press V, and that's, wait. Control B, V. Yeah, select both of them. Control B and press V. We're just gonna make it a little bit smoother. So scroll wheel up to give it more edges. And yeah, cool. Apply scale in object mode. Let's go to the modifier panel and let's search for skin. Yeah, it's not gonna look nice, but it is what it is. Okay, so we have whatever this is. Let's go back into edit mode, wireframe, and select everything. And in your end panel, we go to item, and you'll see your mean radius. That's going to control your thickness of the of the rating. So let's delete this. And let's just select the bottom ones and extrude down just a little bit and extrude it a little bit. So we just have 3 vertices. Reason for that is we're going to add a subdivision modifier. That's just going to make it nice and round. Okay, let's just go back to the end panel. And essentially, the skin modifier only works with whatever is connected to one object. You're going to have multiple loose pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Ctrl R with vertex selection, and we're going to press the number 4. Yeah, 4 seems to work. Let's do it on the other side. Ctrl 4. And now we select these vertices that are at the same heights, and press F to fill them. Yeah, I think that works. It's not pretty, but it's honest. Let's change the thickness of everything a little bit. No, 0.17 works. Just a little bit up. Okay, let's unisolate it. We have our rating. It looks a little bit wonky, but so what? We're not really going to pay attention. We're going to pay attention to this lovely cabin in the middle. So let's apply the... In fact, let's give it twice the subdivision. What's the poly count in this? Oh, no. Just 1 level. And we're going to press Control A and apply visual geometry to mesh. Cool. We're going to press space and shade smooth. Now we have a lovely railing. Super dense in poly counts. Let's optimize it. So back to the modifier. We're going to go to decimate. 0.5. Let's press this drop down menu to duplicate. Duplicate. And yeah, that looks good. So Control A. Apply visual geometry to mesh. Yeah, that one. Okay, so we have that. Don't worry about this ugliness. It's fine. And we're going to go back to our shading panel. Unisolate. Find an object. You can find an object by pressing dot on your numpad. So if you're like zoomed away and you can still select it, press dot on your numpad, and that's how you find the object. Okay. Let's assign the material. We had metal, so apply that. Don't make a new one. You can reuse materials. Okay, with that applied, it's just gonna look brown. We haven't UV unwrapped it, so just make sure visual geometry to mesh. Now in edit mode, this doesn't have to be perfect. We select everything, press U, smart UV project. Just say unwrap. There we go. I think it's nice. I think it's nice. Okay, so what people would do is they would add a curve modifier and a array modifier and suffer for like a solid 10 minutes because honestly it just sucks in my opinion. But what we're gonna do is just make sure it makes contact to the floor. In fact, we're not gonna see the contacts like the, you know, some nuts and bolts. So it's gonna do this and place it by. We can press 7 on our numpad. Rotate it like this. Again, just doing it by eye. Oh, yeah, that's nice spacing. Just fits. Okay, let's do it for this one. I think we just need 1 railing here. Perfect. For this one, let's do this. Grab it on the x-axis and let's scale it on the local x-axis. So again, scale x-axis. I think that still works. In fact, we don't really see this one. In fact, we can scale it back because we're not going to see it clipping. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's good. Let's save this so we have our ratings. Control S. And let's just add some connector bits. So this is just going to be cylinders. So we're going to add a cylinder like this. The poly count doesn't matter on that one. So in this little drop down menu on your bottom left, we'll see cap full, change that to nothing. Okay, now with this thing selected, we're just going to scale it a little bit down. Let's look for reference, how thick it was. Oh, I think this is wood. Let's keep it to metal. So we have 2 for the floor, and I think it's 4 for the cabins. So scale this up. Let's go to our camera view, look at the thickness of it. We're just going to position it like that. In fact, we should move this cylinder to cabin. There we go. So apply scale. Every time when you're in doubt, just apply scale. And let's make the material metal. Apply scale. Let's move this in a little bit so it's just, you know, a little bit darker. Apply scale. Okay. Duplicate this one. Move it there. We're just doing it by eye. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yep. Okay. Now, let's just duplicate this one and move it to... Let's call this support. Oh yeah, one thing, every time I do a tutorial, people are like, no, this isn't working, can you help me? I'm like, sorry, I'm not I'm not customer support. I know it sounds bad, but yeah, if you're struggling, ChatGPT, my dude. Yeah, let's duplicate this one, let's make it smaller, we can raise it up. Let's just rotate it so the textures don't seem to repeat. Okay, let's go to solid view. And now we just do it by eye, duplicate it, rotate it a little bit, duplicate it, rotate it a little bit, duplicate it, rotate it a little bit. Okay, where's the next platform? Yeah, there's the next platform. Okay, duplicate it, rotate it a little bit. In fact, we can disable a collection that has the environment. So duplicate that, rotate it a little bit, duplicate that. We just gotta pretend we're like engineers here. Like, there needs to be some support structures. We don't want people to, you know, lose their houses. And rotate this a little bit. And we can just add one here, because we're not gonna squeeze into them. Okay, unisolate. Let's enable our environment. We don't have to... I don't think we have to shade smooth this. There's enough texture to hide it. It looks a little bit thick. Yeah, let's select our support cylinders and make sure it's individual pivots. Scale a little bit. Scale it up so it just makes contact and hides just under the water. Yeah, I think we have some progress. We can make individual rocks, or you can download it from Polyhaven. So let's go to Polyhaven. Let's say that's the finishing touches. You can do that yourself. That's homework. Now, we gotta make some lights and blinds. So let's start with the blinds. Let's go to our cabin. And, oh, gloss. I have a lot of issues with Cycles gloss. Wait, go away. So let's just go to our material panel and select the gloss. I'm gonna show you something. Gloss shaders don't have to be complicated. In fact, we're just gonna delete this, and we're gonna add a glossy, and we're gonna add a transparent mix shader. Plug these two in this order. Add another mix shader and plug the transparent underneath. Connect that up. Okay, now we're gonna add a Fresnel. So we're gonna make that. I'm not sure what the value is, but I usually just go for 40. And we're gonna add a light path. I will explain it to you now. Okay, and is shadow ray, and plug that in. There we have. It's not physically accurate gloss, but it doesn't. It just. Yeah, it just doesn't make noise. Oh, our glossy needs to be 0 because it's gloss. Okay, so let me explain to you quick. So we have our glossy and transparent, and for now, with any object, if you look at it at an angle, it becomes more and more reflective. So the Fresnel says, hey, transparency, it needs to be more reflective. Wait, should we do this? Oh yeah, it's the other way around. So yeah, the Fresnel says, okay, look, we're looking at an edge, so the glossiness needs to kick in. As for this, light path, and we're just reusing a transparent. If we use shadow ray and make it transparent in a mix node, we don't get shadows, and therefore light can bounce freely. Okay, this is good. This is good. Now let's make the blinds. So in our cabin, we're gonna be a little bit lazy here. We're gonna go inside, and we're gonna press the, yeah, just bring our cursor to somewhat of a center. We're gonna add a cube, scale that cube super teeny tiny, scale it on the x-axis, scale it on the z-axis. There we have a blind. Scale a little bit down. We're just gonna rotate it like this, so it's down. Scale y, y, y for the local axes, scale x, x, x. In fact, let's rotate it like this. Okay, so we did rotate it, scale it, so that means we're gonna apply, scale, and apply rotation. Now, in our modifier panel, we're gonna add an array. And now we just gotta figure out the axes. So I think it's gonna be on the z-axis. So we press -1 on the z-axis. There we have some blinds. We can move this one a little bit up by adjusting this number. And move this. Then I'll duplicate this. Duplicate this one. Yeah, I think that works. Now let's just give it a material. We're not going to spend time texturing this because you're not going to see the stuff. So let's just call this blinds. You can make it any color, but let's stick to the black and white color scheme here. Select this one and select your texture or material one. And press Ctrl L to bring up link transfer. And we're going to link materials, and that's automatically going to apply that to the last selected objects. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now it is time for, oh, wait, we gotta make doors. How are people gonna get out there? So let's just do it by eye. Take your 3D cursor, and we're gonna press Shift A, Archimesh. Let's add a door. There we go. Door is created. Rotate it on the z-axis. Oh wait, rotate it like this because this one is skew. You'll see we have a door frame, so that means we don't have to do Boolean or any modeling. You just have to do it by eye. Oh wait. Let's just undo this. Get rid of this door. Make a new collection. Call it doors. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just going to be in the cabin instance, and we're going to get some glitches. So, mesh, arc mesh, door. Let's, come on. Rotate it so the frame is just outside. Okay, so I think this add-on just didn't get updated. So we gotta just make some basic materials. So we call this one handle, make it full on metallic. Take the roughness down a little bit, make it darker, and for the frame, we're just gonna call it frame. Roughness should be like this. Let's just take it down to this. I didn't think we have to give this one like, you know, detail and stuff, our materials. So we're gonna select the parent here and Shift G and children, and then we just gotta select the empty again. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna see. We don't have to put a door here. We don't have to put a door here. We only work with what's in view. So we only need a door here and there. So I'm gonna go into the top down view. Yeah, that's what you call it. That's with numpad 7, and we're gonna Shift D. We only, oh yeah, Shift D. So we have 2 doors now. Okay, and then we're gonna, come on. If you're struggling to select something, hold down Alt. Click in the area you want, and it brings up this menu, so then you can select that. Cool, now we just rotate it a little bit like this, and we can just do it by eye now, because we're in the top-down view. That's not what we need. scooch it in a little bit. Yep, now let's select this door. Okay, make sure it sits flush. Oh, this handle doesn't have anything, so let's just search handle. Okay, I think that's fine. Let's check this. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't want to spend some time modeling the lights outside. So, let's just check Polyhaven. I'm gonna get a model off screen. I'll just link it in the description. Okay, I'm back. So, good news, I found decals. It's actually asphalt, what he supplied. It's on Ambient CG. And also, I found a light model. So let's start with the lamps, or lights. So we're just gonna extract it with 7-zip, which is the best app ever. And you'll see they supply the Blender file. So for a model from Polyhaven, the model, if it's a model, it's fine. If it's materials, I feel like they didn't do a good job with some materials. I feel like they just, you know, automated it with some code. But yeah, so in the new Blender file for the lamp, we're just gonna select this thing, Control C. If you have the copy attributes add-on, I highly recommend it. Just Control C, do it a few times because I found some glitches with it. Yeah, Control C, copy object. Okay, now let's go to our cabin collection and let's Control V. So our lamp should be there, select it. We can just snap it here. So we're gonna select with our 3D cursor, Shift S, selection to cursor, and that will snap the model. So let's just rotate it so it's nice. Let's scale it up a little bit. Yeah, until that feels correct. Okay, Shift D, rotate it on the Z axis by 180, so Z and type in 180, or RZ 180. Yeah, place it there, just so it makes, you know, nice contact, so we see the nuts and bolts. Yeah, this one's fine. Yeah, the scale feels okay, so I'm just gonna select this and scale it a little bit down, again with individual origins for your pivots, and then we have lights. Okay, majority of the scene is done. Right now, it will come down to compositing and touch-ups and yeah, so let's just quickly add the grime. So we're gonna take our cursor to where we think, and we're gonna press Shift A, and we're gonna go to Image, Mesh Plane. So what I said, I'll link you all the descriptions. In fact, I'll upload this entire project to Google Drive so you guys can just check it out. Okay, so under yeah, in our material folder, we're gonna just select the preview image. It's fine. It's gonna be low resolution, but it's fine. We're not gonna change any settings here for now. Okay, there we have it. So we just gotta select what we think we need. So I like this one here. So let's go into edit mode, add a loop cut here, and we're gonna select the one we need, and P, and yeah, selection. I like this subtle one as well, so let's add a loop cut. So we can just isolate it, select that one, P by selection. Okay, we can delete the other ones. Okay, now select your decal and set origin to geometry. That will just make the origin to, yeah, to the center of the object. Okay, this one, right click, set origin to geometry, and now we can just place it in our, oh yeah, let's just move this to our cabin collection, so we don't have to do it for all of these. It's a little bit fiddly, so let's take this one. I think this one will work nice for the windows. So numpad 1, and essentially you just want to add decals under objects as if it's like water leaking. Now I'm just gonna scale it on the Z axis, so it looks like it's yeah, so it just looks like it's actually, you know, some degradation from rain and weather. Okay, now let's take the big one, and let's just put it flush to the roof. Scale it, let's scale it up we're gonna do some changes soon. Scale with X. It's just basic, We're just gonna do this by. If it looks good, then it looks good. Scale X. Just make sure it's not going over or going out of things. Okay, so right now it's just, it looks like bird poop. So what we want to do is we want to go to the material Blender automatically made, and we want to add a mix RGB mix color. We want to plug that in and make the bottom value black. So if we take up the factor, it's gonna look a lot more subtle. So as subtle as possible. That just, you know, that just breaks up the scene. So we want to do that, and we want to get rid of the shadows it's gonna make. So again, we're gonna add a mix shader and a transparent. Plug that onto the bottom, and we're gonna add a light path node. And again, we want to tell Blender, hey, the shadow path needs to be transparent. So we plug the shadow ray to the mix shader. That's not gonna cause any shadows. Okay, now what we need to do is let's enable scene lighting, so we can just get a sense of lighting. And we're just gonna stick in lamp, point lamp. Let's move that up a little bit as if it's like on the ceiling. And no lamp is just a tiny dot. We're gonna change the radius so it just has some bounce. We're gonna up the thing a little bit, up it again. Let's just make it a little bit orange. So let's say, yeah. Okay, so this is, yeah, so we're still working in our cabin collection, so you don't have to light up any of these. Now, let's do the lighting. So we're gonna go to Polyhaven and download an HDRI. Again, you can just check the descriptions for the HDRI and just download it from there. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I, for some reason, have to stop screen recording because Google Chrome or Edge blocks it. Okay, cool. So I downloaded the HDRI, and let's change from Eevee to Cycles before we click on this dangerous viewport shading or viewport rendering button. Let's switch to GPU. You'll just have to search how to enable your GPU on your side, because some people have AMD, NVIDIA, or some people don't have RTX, they have CUDA. There's a lot of things which I'm not going to cover. Okay, sampling, yeah, we can keep that. Now, we're going to get a lot of noise. The reason for that is because water is reflective. So we're just going to go to light paths and disable reflective and refractive. Okay, that's about it. So let's go into rendered view. It's going to look bad. And, oh, these boxes here. I'll show you how to disable them now. Okay, let's go to our world panel, color, environment texture. We're going to click open, and I downloaded an overcast sky, so just like this. The shading is pretty flat. I'll fix that up a little bit. Now for the cabin, let's just go down here, and yeah, we're just going to find this ugly cube. Go to this. Okay, there we go. Now we can check for lighting. Lighting is a little bit flat, so let's just find the lamp we put in. Change it more orangey. So we have some warmth contrasting with that power. We can take that down. If you have RTX, you can enable denoise in your viewport. Yep. Same for these doors, but we can ignore them. They're not going to show up in the render. And, I think it works thus far. Compositing is definitely going to save it. So let's just go to shader editor, change it to world. We can plug in a curve, color curve. So just like the planks, we can color correct it a little bit. I like to give it some contrast by pulling this one down, making it a little bit darker. Okay, so it's too dark, but let's add a sun lamp. So let's make a new collection, call it sun, and let's just add a, not a spotlight, a sunlight. Rotate it a little bit like this. We're gonna make the angle a little bit bigger, so it's cloudy. So make it 3 or 4, and bring up the exposure. We just wanna, you know, let's get it subtle. So yeah, keep it at an angle. We can still see it's too sharp, so make your angle more. Let's take up the world strength. Yeah, we'll save it in compositing. Should we bring up water and the environment? Luckily, it's just 2 objects we can bring up, so... yeah, now that looks good. Okay, now let's add some subtle depth of field to this. So we select our camera, and we're gonna go to depth of field, and viewport display limits. So this little green, yellow X will showcase where it's gonna focus. So we're gonna take the focus distance just to the cabins. And that should darken the material a little bit. So let's take f-stop down. Yeah, just so that background gets out of focus. Not too much because it's a wide angle lens, but that should be fine. Okay, if the water looks a little bit rough in render, I will show you how to add more resolution, but I think it's fine. In fact, let's scale it a little bit down so it's more subtle. Okay, and now it's time to render. Render settings, max samples, let's just make it 512. 512 might be overkill, so that's divided by 2, so 256 should be fine. Denoise, yep, denoise should be on, and let's enable some pauses before we render. So let's just go into render view, and we're gonna enable mist. Now to see the mist, go to this drop down menu, and render pause, mist. So instead of rendering with volumetric effects, we're gonna save some time, and we're gonna make your GPU pretty happy because we will do the mist in post. Now, in your world properties, we're gonna go to mist and change the start to 0, and let's change the depth to, so it just covers the entire scene. You'll see we don't have range to work with, so you want to try to full off to maybe linear. Yeah, so we have a nice linear thing. Okay, combined. Let's save this. Let's go into solid view before we render. Sometimes it crashes if you're like rendering 2 screens at once. You go to render and go down to film, and you can make that transparent. Cool. So with your film transparent, you'll see the background is transparent. So we can add the clouds in post, which would be nice. So render image, I'll pause the recording until it's done. Okay, now let's jump into the compositing panel and use nodes. And the controls are janky for the background. So V is to zoom out, but Alt V is to zoom in, and Alt middle mouse click is to move it. What I usually do is I take the bottom window and go to UV editor, image editor. Then we type in render result. Yeah, as you can see with the transparency, we have nothing in the background. So that's good. That's good news. So we're just gonna add a image, and we're gonna make that our sky. What we call sky, and we're gonna add a mix color. Plug that in. We're gonna plug this in, and we're gonna connect that to our alpha. But there's a problem. The sky is now over the render. So what we can do is add an invert color and plug that to your alpha. We're using the alpha as a texture. Okay, now you can see the sky in the background. So let's just contrast it up. We're gonna use a curve, RGB curves. Just pull it a little bit down to make it like that. Fact, it's now too saturated, so we're gonna take a U and saturation value, plug that after the curve, and pull that down to saturation, so it's still with the black and white theme. Now let's do our fog. We're gonna do a mix color. We're going to plug in our alpha from the render and plug it into the factory. Okay, so that's good. And we want to add a mist node. Mist node, change that to screen. Okay, I'll zoom in afterwards so you can check the compositing nodes. So we have some mist, but the mist is like a little bit wonky. So we want to add a ramp to control it. And we're going to take the white down here, pull it back, change it to ease. So it's just a little bit more of ease. Okay, we can see now, yeah, we can now see this looks a little bit out of place. So what we can do is we can take this white one, change and just, you know, select the color we want. Take that a little bit up. Okay, so we have a clear sky, and now we want to add a glare. Change that highlights. Change it from streaks to fog glow. So that's going to give us a nice, you know, heavenly style. In fact, let's take this one more up. Yeah, that should be good. Oh, this fog is nice. Sorry, I have to compliment myself. Okay, so now it still feels a little bit too saturated. So we want to add a color balance. Not saturated, but it feels bland. So we're going to add a color balance and make the lift a little bit blue. Too much blue. No. Saturation down. We're going to hold down shift and just pull it like that. Let's experiment a little bit. Yeah, this feels good. I think it works. Okay. What else can we add? Alright, let's make a not a halo, a vignette. So to do a vignette, we're gonna take a ellipse mask. Let's just plug this into our viewer, and we're gonna take the size, pull it like that so it touches the edge, pull it up, and we're gonna add a blur node. Blur. Gaussian, fast Gaussian. Let's take up the pixel size. Wait, a lot, like a lot. There's our vignette. Now, the fun part. We're gonna take this, add a mix color, and we're gonna plug that in. We're gonna plug our ellipse mask in, and we're gonna change it to multiply. So there we have nice ellipse. Now this gets a little bit overdone. Like a lot of artists just slaps in chromatic aberration, sharpening, and film grain, but I'm gonna show you how to, you know, do it and keep it subtle. So we're gonna add a filter, and we're gonna change it from sharpen. Let's change it from box sharpen. Take that up like halfway. We're gonna duplicate this and change it to soften. So we can see it looks like as if it's taken from a camera on a cheap cell phone, which is nice. Then, last but not least, lens distortion. We're gonna do 2 of these. So dispersion, just change it like that. So just the sides are, you know, chromatic aberrated. And we're gonna take lens distortion and change it to fit. Oh wait, radial. To fit. I don't think we need this. Yeah, and I think it's done. Okay, like I said, somewhere in the tutorial, I'll upload a project file for everybody to check out, and I'll also link all the assets I used. So yeah, hopefully you can do this on your own. What I would suggest you can do as homework is maybe add some cables in here. Why can't I draw? Anyway, add some cables here, dangling. Maybe try and think of like waste disposal, and also try to figure out how to smoothen this corner out. Just a little bit. Don't overdo your bevel, whatever. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Okay, cool. Bye.